The silence isn't quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe. And I know you feel like dying, but I promise we would take the world to its feet. Move mountains, bring it to its feet.
Good afternoon. You're tuned into Ability Matters, the program that covers matters to do with abilities, disabilities and everything in between. We are one of the longest running disability-related shows in the world, starting as Headway On Air all the way back in 2007 and now brought to you by My Home Living Care, an NDIS registered disability support organisation.
Yes, that's right, Sean. NDIS Support Registered Association. But anyway, let's get back to away from the official stuff. First of all, I want to make sure I open up today's show with thanking big man Tim on the other side for the Through the Past Darkly. I'll say it again like I do most weeks. Good stuff, mate. Don't change the music. That's what I like to hear. Let's move on now to the our show Ability Matters. Because I was going to say Through the Past Darkly, but no, that's one I already said there. Yeah, thanks for laughing there, Beck.
Sorry.
It's good. It's cheering on, keeping things more natural and alive. Okay, so yes, let's back to Beck now. What do we have to talk about today, Beck?
Okay, I had an interview with Emma. I won't reveal too much information because Emma does do that in the interview. So I had a little chat with her last week, so it's a recorded interview.
Let's just repeat that, shall we? Because I don't think you're quite coming through there with the microphone.
Oh, sorry about that. It's a recorded interview with my friend Emma. She works at the Illawarra Brain Institute, also Illawarra Brain Injury Service.
Yep.
But she
IBIS,
tells us,
yes.
she tells us all about that in the interview. So
I remember Emma.
We'll listen to that.
Emma was my case worker. Or
yes, case worker. Yes. And she also is a speech pathologist. So.
Speech pathology. That's where I would know her from. Yes, speech pathology through IBIS. Understood. Okay, so let's have a listen. But I think first off, we'll do is we'll open up today's show with a couple of songs, then we'll jump straight into the interview, shall we?
Great, thank you.
Well, I'm going to open up today's show with an unofficial Australian anthem by Ganga Jang, Sounds of Then. This is Australia from 1985. Of course, it's from the self-titled album Ganga Jang. Everyone knows this song here if you consider yourself Australian and into Aussie music, so let's have a listen, shall we? Go for it.
Great song.
Here we go. Yes, and that was just Dire Straits with So Far Away from the 1985 from the album Brothers in Arms. Great album. And I just realised something now. I just did a 1985 double without even realising.
Happy accident.
Exactly, happy accident. Good way to put it, yes. Okay, so now let's just clarify something you said earlier there, Beck. And yes, you were right. A lot of the cane fields were in Queensland, up Northern Way. So
yes, so life in Queensland, it must be wonderful with the cane fields.
That's one way to put it, I suppose. Okay, so let's just jump straight into the interview, shall we? So this is Beck's pre-recorded interview with
Emma,
not Emma Thompson from the movies, but that's the first one I'm thinking of straight away. No, it's Emma from the Speech Pathology.
Yeah, she's a Speech Pathology at IBIS, or the Illawarra Brain Injury Service.
And she was, from memory, she was the speech pathologist I had.
She would be, and she also doubles up as a case worker as well.
Okay, I don't think I went that far, but yeah, speech pathology, she covers me 100%. Okay, so let's get into the interviews now, shall we? This is part 1, so make sure you stay tuned to the end for the part 2.
Good morning, Emma. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks, Beck. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you so much for making the time to chat with us this morning. Really do appreciate it.
Good to be here.
Thanks. I'm going to get straight into some questions because our listeners might want to hear some of this. It's some pretty interesting stuff. So first I want to ask you, what made you decide to work in speech pathology?
Well, it's funny. When I was younger, I was really passionate about doing some sort of health job, and I was really keen to be a physiotherapist. And so went through work experience with that, loved it, went through year 12, and getting into physio that year was really challenging. It was really popular, harder than law, harder than medicine.
Oh, wow.
So no luck, but got into speech pathology, figured I'll do lots of the same courses as the physios, transfer over after first year. And then the first year, absolutely loved speech path. So I stuck with it. So
excellent.
Bit of a change of direction, but been really happy since.
Oh, excellent. That sounds really exciting. You might have been going, oh, wow, what's going on here? This is all new.
It's just a really interesting course. It covered a whole lot of psychology and physiology and anatomy, but we learned all about how language is developed in kids, but also then what happens when a brain injury occurs and something neurological happens. So lots of different areas to work in.
Oh, yeah, it sounds really awesome. I worked with them after my stroke.
You did.
And we did quite a lot of stencils and exercise sheets.
Star pupil.
I think that's also an interesting aspect of it as well, having to see what people actually go through.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the progress that they make as they come along.
Absolutely. That's why I like rehab. That's the area that I work in.
Okay, so tell us more about what you do in your role as a speech pathologist. What exactly are we've just touched on a few things there, but what do you actually do when you work with the client?
Basically, my role is to assess their communication and their swallowing sometimes, so both areas.
Yeah.
So we'll look at their speech as well as their language skills. I guess work out where there are some difficulties and where they might want to improve some skills or build their confidence in some of the areas. And I guess then we sort of begin rehab. So that's looking at the goals that the clients or the families have identified. Often it's about building skills and confidence to let people get back to the life that they want. Might include things like return to work or some support with return to study.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it's about exploring new roles and new opportunities.
Awesome. I when you spoke about the swallowing side of it, it took some memories back in my head, and some people might not be aware of that. They do it's called barium. I suppose the closest thing I can put it to is chalk. And they actually can x-ray and see how everything moves when you swallow. Yeah,
so a lot of people don't realise that swallowing is part of what speech pathologists get involved with. So, often after, say, a brain injury, someone might have difficulties coordinating their swallow. They might have difficulties where food or fluid goes the wrong way and down into their lungs. Yeah. So we need to do some assessments. We need to do some assessments to work out how safe they are on different types of food and fluid. And sometimes it's about learning different strategies to get around the problems and strengthen up the muscles again.
Cool, yeah. I got told, I don't know if it's true, you might be able to fill me in. They said to me there's 256 muscles just in your swallowing.
Oh, you're testing my knowledge now. I don't know offhand, but maybe possible. But yeah, it's a really finely coordinated skill.
Yeah, there's a lot more that goes into it than I actually
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people don't realise just how risky it can be if it's not well managed. And so for a lot of people, it's something they very much take for granted. And then when suddenly something this happens, they're very acutely aware that they've got to be very careful. So, the speech's role is to try and educate people about the safest way to swallow and hopefully then build up those strengths and skills again to get people back to eating normal, regular food and drinks if possible, otherwise making sure they're safe on what it is that they can eat and drink.
Yes, I remember the first time I was allowed to have a Coke Zero and I looked up and every single person in the room was staring at me, which then made me paranoid, and I'm like, this is going to go the wrong way because I'm going to laugh. I can't have it now, I'll have it later.
Oh, and was it the best Coke Zero ever?
Because it had been about 7.5 months since I'd had that, and I was like, oh, yes, bubbles.
It definitely makes us appreciate some of those things, doesn't it?
It certainly does. The next one I've got for you, I think, because I didn't want to ruin it at the start, and I thought I would ask you, who do you work with? Because I thought you may be able to give us a bit of background as to where you are.
Yeah, sure. So I work for an organisation called the Illawarra Brain Injury Service. We have 2 teams, one that covers the Shoalhaven region and one that covers the Illawarra region, and I work across both.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so our work involves rehab for people once they've been discharged from hospital after they've had an acquired brain injury. So most of my work is with traumatic brain injuries, so car accidents, falls, assaults, where someone's had an injury to their brain and are needing rehab and support to get back on with life.
Yeah, and I know that he's also had a few wonderful social groups there as well that people are able to participate in.
Look, groups can be really important as part of people's rehab, I think, both for families as well as for clients, being able to connect up with other people who have real lived experience of what this can be like can be just invaluable. We try to get people together where we can, share some experiences and share some stories. And I think also for family members it can really be helpful to know that they're not the only ones going through this. There can sometimes be a lot of grief and loss and heartache with this journey. It can be a hard one.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, so I think wherever possible we're sort of trying to support the clients as well as the families through that journey.
Yeah, and I think also it gives them a bit of awareness too that there are certain things that they may have to do a little bit differently than they've done before and approach situations a bit differently.
Absolutely, yeah.
Be a bit aware that there's some changes there that they need to keep in mind. And
absolutely, and I think brain injury is a really complex area where communication can be affected, but so can a person's thinking skills, so sometimes memory or attention, problem solving. Sometimes people can feel very overwhelmed in very noisy places. Sometimes people have physical changes, so they might have difficulties with high level balance, coordination.
I had the balance thing, yes, that was great. Not so bad now. But it took a while.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point that it can take a while. I guess we have a team of therapists, so a multidisciplinary team.
Yeah.
So different clients get to work with different therapists according to what they need. But you're right, it can take time.
Oh, definitely. So just shout out, I suppose, to some of the team there. We've got Irina, that's the manager, and Jason, that does psychology. Rebecca? No, Rebecca's moved on.
So we've also got, social workers, exercise physiologists, physio, occupational therapists.
Oh, wow. There's a lot
nurses.
of
Okay, so, yes, that was a very important time. I was just discussing with Beck, my co-host here, the importance that we both found with our time through IBIS itself, yes.
Yeah, IBIS is a really great place, and they cater for a lot of different injuries that people have, especially when it's to do with the brain, and they're there to help you through all the different things that you might need to set goals for yourself. Or
I'm guessing the fact that it's Illawarra Brain Injury Service.
Well, I think so. That speaks for itself, doesn't it?
I'm not like putting you down or anything, but
oh no, it's all good. Cool. It's all good. You got me back. Zing.
Zingo, yes. It was in my time with
IBIS.
Yeah, time with IBIS and Emma. Yeah, my time with Emma, because she was my speech pathologist. She's a big part of the reason why I can speak and pronounce myself as well as I can through the radio. So you can hear me speaking very clearly now, hopefully, and aside from the technical issues we have from time to time. But yes, that's all in indiscretion sort of thing, yeah.
She does great work. I think that she's very patient and
understanding
and caring person. So she makes sure that she's doing things that are actually going to be beneficial for you in the long run. Indeed. As well as they might be a bit tedious and repetitive, but
seem almost
they're
pointless
worth
at
it.
the time. But yes, in the long run, they come through strong.
Yeah,
and that applies to across the board to most all of the carers and employees.
The
in
team,
IBIS.
yeah.
Yes, the team. That's a good way to put it. Yes, the team. So let's it's still Tony here in the chair, Tony S. in the chair, with Beck on the other side of the table, here for the Ability Matters program.
Hello.
On VOX FM 106.9. Should we get back into some more music? Why not?
Why not? Sounds great.
Well, I'm going to play you some Steely Dan, the classic song here, Only a Fool Would Say That, from 1972, from their album Can't Buy a Thrill. Yes, that was just Charles and Eddie with Would I Lie to You from 1992. What do you know? I just did a 20-year gap then between those last two songs. The first one was 1972, that one there was 1992. Okay.
Another happy
trivia there.
accident.
And, happy accident, was it? Yeah, another. Yeah, there we go. Now, of course, here's some more not accident stuff here. I've got a message I've got to pass on from, I suppose, a friend of mine or mate of mine here, Len Sonnen, I've seen him and he's had done, and he's had some helpful work done by this Southern Prosthetics. Southern Prosthetics and Orthotics Wollongong have a grand opening of a new shop there, and if you want to find more information, I couldn't find anything online just quickly, but you can call Lisa at 1300 136 054. Once again, the number 1300 136 054.
Ask for Lisa.
Ask for Lisa, of course, yes. And this is the Southern Prosthetics and Orthotics Wollongong. Here's the second part of the interview with Emma from IBIS about
the things that she does and...
yes, her role at IBIS, that's right. Here we go.
Yeah.
It was a pre-recorded interview with my co-host Beck just across the table there, so here we go. How closely listen now.
My next question is, I heard on the grapevine that it was Speech Pathology Week, and then you also just let me know before we started that it was also Brain Injury Week as well. So
the double whammy.
Lots of weeks.
Absolutely.
Did you want to tell us a little bit more about what is involved with it?
Yeah, sure. So, August is a busy month. Brain Injury Awareness Week was the 19th to the 25th of August. I think the theme this year was What's Your Connection? So it was all about the connections, the physical connections within the brain.
Oh, yes.
And talking about, the neurology of the brain, but also the connections we have with each other and the connections with organisations and with services. So promoting that idea that, connections are all part of our lives and how we can promote different connections.
Like similar to like a family tree, you've got a lot of different branches.
Absolutely. And everyone's
incorporate.
Everyone's family tree and connections looks different, and sometimes it's pruned off a little bit, but sometimes we really try hard to get new branches and new connections.
Oh, that's excellent. And what did they do with Speech Pathology Week?
And then Speech Pathology Week was the last week of August, and their theme for this year was communicate your way. And the idea is that everyone communicates differently. So for some of us, we use spoken word, but for some people, they rely on digital communication. Some people rely on sign or gestures. Some people rely on written words and drawings. So really just, I think, recognising that each is a valid means of communication and really encouraging people to take the time and effort that's required to ensure that everyone gets a voice and everyone gets to say their
So true, because through different aspects of my journey, I had to use different methods of communication. So I probably pretty much touched on all of those that you just mentioned. So I think there'd be a lot of people out there that have to do a lot of things a different way to get the same result.
Absolutely.
They used to get.
I think that the stats were saying 1.2 million Australians have some sort of communication support needs.
Wow, that's a big number.
It is, isn't it? So I think, it is really, and I think Becky just touched on the importance of some of the journeys we go through. Sometimes we're really vulnerable and communication is just so important. And so being able to ensure that someone has a means of communicating, sometimes at really dark times, is really important.
So, yes, very, very true. Sometimes they might not be such exciting gestures, but I know I had some naughty gestures. I think it gets the message across pretty straightforwardly. So the next thing I'd like to ask you, it's a bit of a personal question, but I think it's great for people to understand that there's actually a person behind the role. And so I'm wondering, is there a favourite thing that you like to do?
I love to travel. Yeah, I love seeing new places and experiencing new things. I've done quite a bit of travelling around Australia as well as internationally. And otherwise, I suppose I love spending time in nature and keen gardener, so I like getting my hands dirty, getting my boots dirty, getting out for bushwalks and things like that. I think it just, brings you a bit of peace and puts things in perspective.
Yeah, it brings it back. I was amazed the other week. I was just up at Hill 60 there, and the amount of dragonflies that were flying around, I was like, wow, what's going on? Yeah. They're just everywhere. Yeah,
and it's the stuff that you miss, don't you? If you're just rushing throroh life, if you don't take time to slow down, you miss all those beautiful things.
And I'm not sure, don't quote me, they have a life's been like a butterfly. We'll only really get one day. So
Is that true?
yeah, make the most of that day, I suppose.
Absolutely. Fill it with everything you can.
Get in there, fly around, go wherever. My last question, I suppose, for you today is, would you like to share anything with the listeners that you've picked up that's a really good tip over the years?
Look, I think probably what I'd like to acknowledge is that change can be really difficult, especially when it's sudden or unexpected or often unwanted. You know,
Yes.
I think we all have to approach it, I guess, with a degree of integrity and courage and honesty and curiosity, you know.
So true,
It can be really difficult times, but I think the better we can understand this new situation and how we are in this new situation, the better we are able to cope with it.
So true, so true.
I think the more we can learn about ourselves and our strengths, the more we're able to adapt to this and to change to this new reality.
Yes, I agree. That's a big one. Adapt.
Yeah, and I think in my field of work, I have the real honour, I think, of seeing some people in some really tricky times of their life, and I've seen people rise through some amazing challenges and develop such strength and courage and really display that. And I think sometimes people have made absolutely miraculous changes in their life just because of what they've been dealt, and it was never anything they would have wanted. They wouldn't have put their hand up for it.
Probably not.
No, but still have turned it around and faced some really scary moments, and I think some challenging moments, and have really grown through that.
No, I think, a lot of the people I met through the groups and stuff, a lot of them were just amazing.
Absolutely.
Some of the different things that they had thrown up in them. I thought my situation was bad, but then seeing some of the things that other people go through, I was like, well, you're doing an amazing job, because I would never have been able probably to do that or look at it that way.
I think, it just puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
And I think the way that people perceive things can be so different, and you have such a different outcome by the way that you take it on.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I'm constantly learning from people that I'm working with. You know, everyone's got a different approach and a slightly different take on things. And I think, if you stay curious and continue to try and learn new things and new ways, life keeps moving forward.
I suppose my thing is, don't lose that inner child, because the inner child is what keeps you curious and motivated, I suppose, to find out what's happening and
absolutely
learn more about it.
And I think also just encouraging people to be willing to say yes to new opportunities. I think sometimes it's the new situations that we may not have tried before that might help us build new connections, create new friendships, find new purposes and new passions.
Yes.
And I think that sometimes it can be easy to always want the life that we used to have, and sometimes life keeps moving and changing, and so we can't always go back. We've got to go forward. Yes,
I've seen some people, personally, I'm not sure, I think I did it myself. I clung on to things for a long time that I thought it should be that way, but then when I realised that this is the opportunity to do it a whole new way and start again.
Yeah, and look, I think it's such a journey. I think I would never blame anyone for wanting it to be back the way it was. It's a very human expectation and desire. It takes time to deal with the grief and the loss and carve out a new life for yourself. But I guess I like that quote of, we have one precious life, and thinking about what small steps we can take to create that precious life in the direction that we want it to go. So
that's wonderful. Actually, I like that, one precious life.
So I think just encouraging people to be courageous, to be brave, to be curious, and to think about what they can say yes to maybe try new things and new opportunities, set new challenges for themselves. Because I think rehab doesn't end after 6 months of, seeing therapists. No. It keeps going and going, doesn't it?
4 years.
And I think the more you can create challenges for yourself, take on new opportunities and new learning, the better for the brain and the better for your soul.
And I think that's 8 years, but then you'll find different little things every day, a long time down the road, that you couldn't do yesterday, but you can do it now. So
absolutely,
it's always like a wow, yay moment kind of thing.
Yeah, so perfect.
Well, thank you very much for coming in and speaking with us this morning, Emma.
My pleasure.
I really do appreciate it, and we may get you back again to have a chat with us later down the track.
That is very correct there. Rehab just seems to It's not a point, not a day in the calendar. I'm still going through rehab right now, and not officially, but I'm learning something different every day sort of thing, or developing a new skill. That's the point, yes. I know it sounds cliche, but...
Yeah, something that you couldn't do yesterday, you can do today.
Or you can do it better
amazing.
or in a more efficient way.
Yeah, so I think everything is a learning process.
A big learning curve, that's right.
Yeah, but yeah, it was great to have Emma to touch on those different aspects of the rehab journey, because so many people think there's not that much involved, but there's a lot that people have to go through and come to terms with, I suppose, is the word.
Well, it's easier said than just words, isn't it? I know I've been through it and I've taken it firsthand, and yeah, it's not something I would suggest or recommend to anyone, even though the rehab I went through was a life-changing element.
I think it opens up your eyes, and it's probably not the option that most people want to go with when they have the opportunity to choose, but it actually can open up things and go different ways that you never thought you would go.
Well, I know I thought that I didn't need rehab because I thought that, I'm too good for this sort of thing. I don't need it. Nothing's wrong with me sort of thing. But no, after going through it, yes. I called it the necessary evil sort of thing because it was painful at the time. But I'm talking more about physiotherapy now, which is one form of rehab I had to go through as well. But it is the reason I am walking and talking, well, not so much talking, but walking and move my hands and arms and everything like that.
And do things that
freely,
you wouldn't have been able to do otherwise.
Rehab therapy, essential in a lot of respects, yes. But now let's go back to some more music, shall we? We'll change the theme a bit there. I'm going to hear some Yvonne Elliman with If I Can't Have You from the Saturday Night Fever operating soundtrack, which is actually a Bee Gees song originally. So Yvonne Elliman released hers in 78, but the Bee Gees released 1978, I should say. But the Bee Gees released the original in 1977. So about a year gap between the two versions, but let's have a listen to the Yvonne Elliman version. Okay, yes, that was just then was Roy Orbison with Blue Bayou from 1963. Now that song there had a more of a was more brought to my face again because I know it's a great song. I just played it for you, but watching the film Dreamcatcher the other day, which is a Stephen King film. Yeah, they had this thing that like more of an obsession with this song Blue Bayou, and yeah, of course it's a Roy Orbison song. But yes, that just reminded me. Yes, that's a great song. I'll include it in the playlist for this week, so there we go.
And I also just wanted to point out, because I did get it wrong in the interview with Emma, butterflies live up to 2 weeks.
Common butterflies,
butterflies, and they can last a bit longer than that. And then you also got the dragonfly that goes from between 7 to 56 days. So,
yes. So obviously dragonflies.
So a bit longer than a day.
Yeah. Sorry interrupting there, but obviously dragonflies and butterflies are different, yes?
Oh, yes, very different. But yes, I just thought, better correct that misinformation.
Yes, that's okay. Now that the VOX FM listening audience is better educated, let's go on to some more cool tunes, hopefully. We have here the Eagles with Lion Eyes from 1975. That was just Meatloaf. Michael Lee Addy's his real name, not stage name. And of course, but the song was Rock and Roll Dreams Come Through, not true like everyone else. I misheard lyric there, but it's okay. Rock and Roll Dreams Come Through from 1993. And of course, from the album Bad Outta Hell Part 2, Back Into Hell. Yeah, so there you go. He's a great little singer there, Michael Lee Addy. Well, everyone knows him as Meatloaf because that was his stage name, but yes. Of course, we all know him from Rocky Horror Picture Show, of course. Yes, it was the same Meatloaf character. He played the Eddie, the character Eddie in the movie Rocky Horror Picture Show. Maybe I'll say that again for next week, hopefully, maybe. But we'll see for now. We've got about 6 minutes till 1 o'clock, so we've got 6 minutes left. So there we go. We'll play a couple more songs. Unless you've got anything more to say there, Beck?
We'll say goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye. Okay,
goodbye. So, thanks for listening, everybody. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Lovely work.
So here we go next week.